welcome to another episode of Planet Hunters Coffee Chat. We are part of the citizen science project Planet Hunters TESS on Zooniverse.org. And we're going to be chatting about exoplanets and doing tutorials, and we're just really glad to have you joining us today. So my name is Kassie, and joining me is Nora. Hey, Nora.
Hi.
Okay, so we had our nice introduction in our previous video, but let's talk a little bit about what Planet Hunters TESS is. So maybe could you talk just a little bit about that? And yeah, we'll go from there.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to share my screen.
Oh,
So
pretty.
here you can see the nice Planet Hunters TESS logo. Last time I said that Planet Hunters followed on from, or Planet Hunters TESS followed on from the initial Planet Hunters project. But both of them, they're citizen science projects that are designed to look for exoplanets. And they're designed to look for exoplanets by just using the human eye and kind of the human brain's incredible ability for pattern recognition. A lot of planets are found using kind of automated algorithms, automated computers, but these algorithms tend to find certain types of planets and they tend to miss certain other types of planets. And in particular, the algorithms, the computers, they tend to miss the longer period planets and planets around particularly variable stars or circumbinary planets. So a planet, for example, going around two stars. So all of these are very exciting systems. And if we want to understand kind of the entire exoplanet community and kind of understand the planets, exoplanet, not community, the exoplanet population, I should say, we have to find even these planets that might be more difficult to detect or might be missed by the automated algorithms. And that's where human vetting comes in, and that's where citizen scientists come in.
Okay, good. So you have led on to a very positive endeavor because I know a lot of things are becoming more animated, or excuse me, automated rather. Um, we've got really good algorithms, but the human component, the citizen scientist component, is still very important. Human vetting is really important. Okay, the human vetting part is really important. I'm glad that you mentioned that because automation is obviously really hot, especially in Silicon Valley, and it's nice to see that there's still very much a human component, the citizen science component going into that. So, why is it that the transit method is what you as an astronomer use to detect or even to find exoplanets? Why is that the most important one for you guys to use in your toolbox?
Yeah, so the transit method has been shown to be really successful at finding kind of exoplanets. So let me explain just very briefly what the transit method is. So a kind of a transit occurs when a planet moves directly between us and its host star. So as you can see in this little animation here, if that system is inclined like this, and we're kind of the observer here watching this star, when that planet passes between us and that star, it blocks out some of that light that is emitted by that star. So in
Mm.
the bottom left-hand corner there, you can see kind of, we call this a light curve. So these are light measurements taken over time of this star. And at the time when that planet passed or crossed the path between us and the star, there was this decrease in light and there was this dip in brightness, and that's called a transit. So the reason why this method is so successful is because we've been able to send satellites out into space, and these satellites can look at thousands or even millions of stars at a time and just measure the brightness of these stars kind of almost continuously. And in that, we can then look at all that data and we can look for these tiny little dips in brightness, which are caused by transiting planets. And as I mentioned, algorithms are good at finding certain types of these transiting planets, but they do miss other types. And that's, again, where we come in and why visual vetting is good at finding these transiting planets.
Okay, that's so cool. So we know that human vetting is important. Citizen scientists are important. It's great to be able to detect all of these potential candidates, we should say, because they may not be exoplanets. But as long as we keep getting continuously this information and looking to see if it is an exoplanet or not, then we get better. Do we also, because I know that algorithms get better, but as time goes on, do we get better also, I think, at spotting things as like humans too? Because it can be very tricky, I think, at times to know whether as a citizen scientist coming in, if you're doing the right thing, if you're marking the correct thing. Um, so people might have hesitancy on, I guess, clicking to say, okay, I think this might be a candidate, but do you think as time goes on, it just takes good practice and people actually can find and level up their experience, basically.
Yeah, definitely. So we've actually been able to show that with the initial results from the Planet Hunters TESS project, that citizen scientists who continue to kind of help out and look for these transiting planets, they do get better at it. We also, so on Planet Hunters TESS, we have simulated data in there. So these are kind of, they're real light curves. We have injected simulated transits into that light curve. So these aren't real planets, but they give feedback to the citizen scientists. So if they see a simulation, they're not told initially whether it's a simulation, they then classify it, they see whether they see something in there. And if they correctly identify simulated transit, or even incorrectly, it doesn't matter, then you get told where the kind of transit would have been, and hopefully that can act as kind of a guide as to find out whether you're doing it correctly or not. And afterwards, you're always told whether it's a simulation. And with examples online and kind of the discussion forums, hopefully citizen scientists can learn from one another and from us to
Yes,
see what they're looking for.
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And that, so Nora makes a very good point. So continuously use the discussion forums. And we're going to drop the link down again, like we did in the beginning. So just look in there, ask your fellow citizen scientists, but, reach out and continuously ask us as well. If there's certain things where you want to maybe have us go into more of a deeper discussion with, if there's something that looks really interesting, ping us, let us know, and maybe we will open that. If we get enough people interested in it, maybe we'll open it up and do like a live office hours discussion, and we'll bring in some other citizen scientists, and we'll bring in some astronomers and have a chat on it. So the most important thing is just get over the hesitancy. It's okay if you're a little bit initial skepticism, like, oh, I don't know if I'm doing this right. But as Nora said, just keep going with it. It's
Also,
okay.
I should say, often there's no right or wrong. I look at light curves
Yeah.
all day, most days, and I still see light curves, and I don't know, and I ask colleagues and I ask other people, and sometimes it's just difficult to tell. So there's no wrong, I want to say. So just always, you can give it your best, and I'm sure it's great.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. Okay, great. So I think that's it. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about with the transit method today, Nora?
Yeah, let's. I wanted to briefly show you why human vetting is better than some of the algorithms. And maybe we can do that by briefly looking at what the algorithm actually does. So we can kind of compare the two methods and see how both of them have kind of their flaws and where they thrive. So actually, we haven't actually looked at any data yet. So maybe this is a good place to
Ooh,
start. So this is
yeah.
a kind of real data taken with the TESS satellite. So TESS, I also haven't said that yet, is the Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite. And each one of the brightness measurements, or each one of those little points that you see on this graph here, is one of those brightness measurements. So of a single star, I should say. So you can hopefully look at this light curve and you can see that there is a transiting signal within there. So those are indicated by those dips that happen kind of periodically. Yeah, you can see those. And you can see the separation between those dips. That's actually the period of the planet. So every time it comes around, there's a dip. Now, the algorithms have to search for these dips in kind of a very systematic way, because the algorithm, the computers can't just look at this and see those transits. So it has to search for those in a systematic way. And the way it does that is it takes this light curve and it chops it up into different chunks. As you can see, kind of indicated by those black dashed lines. And it then takes those different chunks and tries to fold them on top of one another. So it kind of takes them, puts them on top of one another and sees whether anything aligns. Now, in this case here, I knew the orbital period, so I knew where to draw those lines. So I knew that I could fit those kind of dips on top of one another. So the algorithm can now flag this. So like I said, I knew where to draw those kind of dips, those lines, but the algorithm a priori doesn't know where to draw those lines. So what the algorithm actually has to do is it takes this light curve and it kind of does this kind of chopping it up into different chunks and folding them on top of one another lots and lots of different times. And every time it assesses whether anything aligns. And if something does align, then it flags it as this being the right period and as something being in there. And if nothing ever aligns, then it's never flagged as having a planet within there. So that's kind of how the algorithm does that. And you can see that this can be very, very effective if there are multiple transiting planets within kind of the duration of the observations within the light curve. But now the problem comes when there's only one transit event. So you can imagine this light curve here, you can kind of chop this up in whatever way you want. You will never be able to align this single dip with any other dip because there aren't any other dips. So the algorithm would really struggle to identify this type of planet. But us, we can look at this. I can see this transit. You can hopefully see this transit. We can
Yep.
just pick it
Mm-hmm.
out with just by knowing what we're looking for. So in that way, we can kind of beat the algorithms, we can beat the machines, and find the planets that those algorithms missed. And those are these kind of single transiting planets that tend to be longer period. And longer period also often means that they might be more similar to the planets found within our own solar system, which can make them very exciting.
Yeah. What's great is that in future episodes, we're going to be talking a little bit about coding. And we're actually the thing that Nora just showed before when you've got the transit dips and then they folded on top of one another. We will be doing something like that in future episodes. She will be showing you some of the coding. Or teaching me rather how to do some of the coding to do the sort of phase folding bits. So stick with us in future episodes, and it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be an adventure, and we'll be troubleshooting some of those other bits. So that is, I like the visualization of that. I love how you were able to split it up and show all of just how that all comes together with the data, and why human vetting is so important. Um, in future episodes too, we're going to talk a little bit about resources to use and other places that you can visit as you're going through and doing these sort of classifications. And was there anything else that we wanted to discuss for today, Nora? I'm trying to remember if there's
Um,
any other list of topics.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think that covers it.
I think that covers everything. Okay, great. So join us next time. We're going to talk a little bit about resources, different websites for you to visit. Again, this is all part of like the exploratory talks as you begin your exoplanet discovery adventure. And we hope to have you join us on our next episode. Thank you very much. And thank you, Nora.
Thank you.